You want to know how I got these scars?
Nope. Oh, that hurt really bad. Okay, people, welcome back to another Fwoosh review. Today, let's take a look at the Filix Toys The Clown. And looking at the package, you wouldn't know it, but this is actually a third-party figure for the Joaquin Phoenix Joker. And I guess being third-party, they wanted to keep it inconspicuous. Although they do have a disclaimer of some kind of artistic interpretation, so I don't know if that's some way to get around legal stuff. I'm not a lawyer. I'm just some guy on the internet looking at toys. But it's been a bit since that movie came out, so getting this now, it's kind of lost a bit of its luster, but I'm a Joker kind of guy. I have many Joker figures, and since none of the companies who do have the DC license put out a version of this Joker, I needed this look on the shelf somehow, this interpretation of this character. Looking at the package, it's very unassuming. You just have this picture of the clown face on the front, and then you get around to the side, there's the clown. On the back, there's some very small print of what to do and what not to do with this figure. Don't put it in your mouth, don't bend things too far, don't put anything on it that may damage it. On the other side, the clown. On top, Filix Toys. On the bottom, Filix Toys. Let's get this open and see if I actually got the figure I ordered. Oh, and look how nice and neat everything is just jammed into this small little package. I feel like I'm already missing something though. Was there 2 cigarettes? Yep, it fell out of the tray off to the side of the package. It didn't fall out, which is cool, but it could have. Oh, so tiny. Some companies go for over-complicated packaging. It turns into a big box. I kind of appreciate this saved space. Getting it out of the package, messing around with it for a couple of hours, there's an awkwardness to it, but there's also a realism to it. Does that make any sense? It's almost like the character itself. It's realistic, but awkward. First up, we got to look at the suit. All soft goods. And for this scale, 1/12 scale, 6-inch, well, 6-inch-ish, it's done really, really well. The seam work in most places, like around the shoulders and where seams should be on a suit, look pretty good. It's when you start looking really close at some of the things that they fake, like these threads coming across the top of the pocket, or these buttons look good at a distance. You get up on them, they are just like vinyl overlays. They're not actual plastic. I have no problem with that, as long as the illusion of realism is there. It's the same thing for the vest underneath. These buttons, they look good at a distance. You get right up on them, they're fake. And again, the thread's going around the edge. In the grand scheme of the overall figure, it works. Some thread for the fly, but the actual seams running right down the side right there, they're done really well too. Depending on what pictures you look at from the movie, the suit should probably be a bit more maroon, a darker red. But then the box did say artistic interpretation, so they may have not been going for 100%, just pretty close. The shoe sculpt is also nice. It has that awkwardness of curling up at the end, kind of Jokerish. The seams, the paint, very nice little details. But the curviness of the bottom does present some problems when you try to pose them. We'll get to that. I don't know how far it goes up, but there's, oh well, it goes to there. There is an actual sock under there. And then there's some nice detail to the shirt underneath the vest. In fact, this is Velcroed. You can get a good look at the detail work in the actual pattern of the material. It doesn't have any buttons or Velcro to keep it closed though. It does a good job as long as you have the vest on. Hold on, let me put this back together. But if you do try to look down, you get that, which, I don't know, it would really do that with a button-up shirt, so I guess I can't grab too much. But my brain looking at it goes, oh no, skin! The neck is a bit long to compensate for the thickness of the shirt, the vest, and then the jacket, and on top of that even, there are fake shoulder pads in the jacket. So it looks good with all those layers, but you start peeling away those layers, and the shoulders down here. Which again, Joaquin Phoenix in the movie had some awkward proportions, movements, stances, so it doesn't hurt a thing for it to look like that. But I'm buttering you up because I am going to take the jacket off. The jacket is tailored fairly tight, so you do have to take the hands off in order to pull this away. Check out the shirt pattern. That is cool. That's something they didn't have to do, but maybe they knew people would be taking the jacket off. Without the jacket, you can also see pockets on the back of the pants and belt loops. Looking at the head itself, I feel like the likeness to Joaquin Phoenix may be slightly off, but you add the makeup on top and it helps tremendously. Way back when I talked about this on the weekly, the custom heads to make this figure yourself were running $40, $50. So I spent $100 here to get 4 excellent head sculpts that may be slightly off, but totally work at this scale. The pores in the skin, the eyes, whatever they did there, the gleam to them, there's some shininess, and then where the makeup fades to a skin tone like it's wore off around his hairline, or the shirt has rubbed up and down, taking it off his neck. Yeah, that is just fantastic. By comparison, the hair looks a little plain, because it's just a green and shadow is doing all the work for it. There may be a wash in here, but even the hair sculpt where it comes over and curls a bit, it looks good. Out of the package, one of the problems I had was it standing up and staying up. And part of that is because the soles of the feet are curved, but another problem was that the ankles were set to go side to side. Under the socks, I'm guessing it's like the wrist joint where you can have it going one direction or turn it, flip it, and you can go the other direction or anywhere in between. So I was fighting it a lot until I realized, oh, I can turn that and then have forward and back hinge. And then besides those two factors, the leg does come in at the back of the foot. So there's kind of a center of gravity problem too. But once you have all the factors in place, it's not too terrible. One thing that has been happening to me though is the leg at the hip on the right side coming loose. Like the back of the box said, don't push it further than it feels comfortable. But in a minute, you'll see photos of where I sat him down in a full-on chair position and I pushed it too far. But it's not actually broken, it's just coming off the ball or whatever is under there. And it's a pain in the ass because I can't see anything. The pants are tight around the waist, I can't pull them down, I can't push this up to see what's going on. If I feel around, there is a peg, I do get it on there. But if I get too crazy with it without pushing in on the hip right there, it wants to come loose again. I haven't had that problem with the left though. Maybe it's just mine, maybe I wore it down a little bit, maybe I pulled too hard, something. But once it's back in position, again, I don't have much problem with it standing or getting it into a pose. Going over articulation, there is a ball at the bottom of the neck, and I don't know if this part actually moves or if that's just a rubbery socket. Yeah, it looks like it's just there to plug into the ball joint. But with that, you can look up a little, way down. Tilt, swivel. I think there's a dumbbell joint at the shoulder. You can bring it up. You can bring it down. There's some forward, there's some back. It is a bit hindered because of the clothing though, because of how well this shirt fits. Hinges up to 90, rotates around, there's some tightness there, and you'll get to about right there before the shirt starts dragging. There's a swivel around the bicep area. That's a double elbow. A swivel hinge swivel at the wrist, up and down, or bring it around, rotate, any direction you want to go. Ball joint at the mid-torso, maybe something at the waist. Altogether, it doesn't do a lot of movement. There is some tilt though. I really do not know what's going on at the hip because of the way it pops off, but pants allow for about right there. Back, see how far out it goes. Not terrible. Swivel at the thigh. That is a double knee, comes all the way up. Look at that. Bing, 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 bing. And then swivel hinge swivel at the ankle. Back, forward, but if you want some tilt with that, you can turn it, and that gives you full on, rocker all the way. For accessories, several sets of hands. There's 2 relaxed hands. There's 2 splayed out hands. There's 2 grip hands. There's a set of hands for trigger finger and weight of the weapon. And then 2 cigarette holding hands. And the hands are super soft, but they do return to position. So if the grip hand is holding something, the pistol hand is holding the pistol, it's gonna hold it, but it's easy to get stuff in and out of it too. Saying that, there's a tight pop to the wrist joint. Comes with 2 cigarettes that are ashy on the end, and these are 2 scale for the most part. They may be slightly large, but it looks really good with the figure. Problem I had with the smoking hand though, there's no hole. The fingers are molded together. So for my first attempt, I sliced down a bit. This is the easier of the 2, even though it's still a pain in the butt. You can see how the fingers kind of splay out from the cigarette pushing it out. I should probably cut it down even further. And the cigarette is also rubbery. The first time I tried to stuff it in there, it bent, and I thought, I'm breaking that, but it just bent back into place. For the other hand, I punched a hole through it and then stuffed the cigarette in before it closed back up. I like this one better. It seems more permanent, and it also looks better. But if push comes to shove, you can also use the grip hand to hold the cigarette. Like I said, trigger finger hand, of course, he has a revolver. It fits really well. Good little sculpt. Nice paint job. Comes with his notebook. Again, it's been a while since I've seen the movie. I think he wrote his jokes in here. Just a rubbery piece of plastic with some spirals on one side. Comes with a little Oscar statue. I love the sculpt of this. I don't have an Oscar in my collection. The gold is shiny. I couldn't ask for anything else here. And then it comes with the mask that he grabs on the train. This is actual hair sticking out the sides and an elastic band that stretches if you want to put it over the head. But the hair sculpt is solid, so it just sits on top of it. So it doesn't look super natural when you have it on the head, but it works if you want that look. And then probably my favorite, the reason I bought this, on the figure in the package, it's the normal painted face, the red eyebrows, mouth, and nose, and then the blue triangles above and below the eyes. Then there's also a smiling head, same paint details for the most part, but then there's some blood splatter on the left cheek. Also, the eyes are looking slightly to the left. It's kind of hard to tell, like that. He's actually looking here. Then for a third head sculpt, it's even smilier, it's even bloodier. This is more towards the end of the movie. He takes his own blood. I like how it's shiny, like it's still wet, but it's also matted a bit to his neck. The collar of the shirt would rub across, not actually wiping it away, but kind of rubbing it in. And the eyes are back to straightforward on this one. But then there's the head with no makeup at all. This one actually kind of surprised me. Again, the likeness may be slightly off, but at this scale, it totally works. It doesn't have the makeup to kind of trick you into thinking it's really close, but then they came in with the realistic skin tones, and especially the eyes. The eyes keep doing it for me here. Swapping the head, I did it a minute ago. It pops right off that ball joint, but the other three, because it wasn't on in the package, they're a bit tighter. I also like how the collar stays up the whole time. You're just kind of working down into it. There's a slight lean to the right, and I don't know if it's my leg problem or if they actually made it like that. To the top of his hair, it's about 6 3/16, but the top of his head is exactly 6 inches. Joaquin Phoenix is 5'8". So even though it feels small, this is actually slightly large for 1/12 scale. The closest comparison I have quality-wise and fabric and imported and third party would be the Bullet Head Criminal. But in terms of scale, Heath Ledger was 6'1", so this doesn't really work. Or maybe put him on the Medicom shelf with the Mafex Dark Knight Joker and the Suicide Squad Joker. Shorter than both the DC Universe Classics and Mezco Jokers, but doesn't look too bad with the Mafex Hush Batman or even the Marvel Legends Deadpool. But if you want to put it somewhere else, anywhere else to give you a better idea of scale, here is the Hasbro Star Wars Black Series Stormtrooper and the Marvel Legends Black Panther. So at the end of the day, I'm pretty happy with this. The hip popping off at random times is a bit frustrating, but if I consciously make an effort to push it in whenever I'm moving it around for poses, it's not really a problem. It's when I get loose and goosey with it that it just like, oh, I'm off. But as for the overall look and feel of the figure, it's another Joker for my shelf. It's another representation that I needed to just kind of fill in all the different versions of Joker we've seen so far. Like I said somewhere in the review, this was cheaper than building a custom Joaquin Phoenix Joker. Not to mention the accessories, and really when it comes down to it, they did a fantastic job on the seam work here. In order to get it to fit like it does, it has to be tight, which messes with the articulation. So it's kind of a trade-off when you get a figure like this. Not as good as some Mezco offerings, but I can bend the elbows past 90. But what sells me is the faces, the heads, just the overall look of them. They're realistic, they're kind of creepy, but it definitely conveys what I wanted in this figure. And if some company that does have the license for this does eventually come around and makes one, I feel like I don't need to pick it up because this is what I wanted. So I'm happy with this. So if you enjoyed the review, comment, like, subscribe. Much love to the plus. If you're interested in seeing videos early or just in a position to help out the channel, patreon.com. But wherever you may be watching this, I'll always catch you on the Fwoosh. I have thought about switching out the body underneath, but at the same time, I'm not gonna have him all crazy posed and stuff. So him standing on the shelf, holding a cigarette, just like my mental image of this character from the movie, that's gonna do it. That spot is filled for me, especially with these head sculpts. Oh man.